So now we have question number 22, and in question number 22 you can see we have two equilibriums, and in these two equilibriums we have some common reagents. It means here we are going to see something simultaneous equilibrium. So let's read the question. When NO and NO2 are mixed in a vessel at temperature T Kelvin, the following equilibria are readily established. So these two equilibria has been established, where the equilibrium constant for both the reactions are Kp1 and Kp2. So for one of the equation we have been given the equilibrium constant, but for the other we do not have any equilibrium constant. Now after that, an experiment is conducted by mixing NO and NO2 in the molar ratio 1:2. The partial pressure of N2O4 at equilibrium is found to be 1.7 atm when the total pressure is 5.5 atm. Find the value of Kp2, the equilibrium constant for reaction 2. Now first thing is, for these simultaneous equilibrium, just write the reaction and write the variables you have been given. So here we have two equations. One is NO gas plus NO2 gas gives N2O3 gas, and the other equation is that NO2 combines and form N2O4. NO2 combines and forms N2O4, and one important thing, this is not a one side reaction, this is basically an equilibrium reaction. So we have these two equilibrium. Now it has been given to us that NO and NO2 has been taken in the ratio of 1:2. So let's say that I take the pressure of NO as P, then the pressure of NO2 will ultimately becomes 2P. So if I put the value here, that initially let's say I have P pressure of NO and 2P pressure of NO2. We will write this 2P everywhere because the two reactions are happening in a particular vessel. Now here for this equilibrium, if I say that NO reacts with NO2 and X amount of it has been converted into N2O3, so the pressure decreased by this reaction, let's say, is X. And if the pressure decrease of NO for the formation of N2O3 is X, then similarly the pressure decrease from NO2 is also X, and the amount of N2O3 that is formed is also X. So here we have to write X. Similarly, it dimerizes and form N2O4, and for this let's say 2Y amount has been dimerized to form N2O4, and if the pressure decrease is 2Y for the formation of N2O4, then the pressure because of N2O4 now is Y, and similarly here also I have to write 2Y. So this is basically my final equilibrium pressures. Now after that, what is given to us is, we have been given that Kp1, that here Kp1 is 6.8. This is 6.8 atm inverse, and also it has been given that at equilibrium, when the total pressure is 5.5, the pressure because of N2O4 is 1.7. That the pressure because of N2O4 at equilibrium is 1.7, and you can see from here that the pressure because of N2O4 is nothing but Y. So from here we have calculated the value of Y. Now if I apply the equilibrium equation, then we have Kp1 is equal to pressure because of N2O4 divided by pressure because of NO2 to the power 2. Now this value is basically 1.7 divided by pressure of NO2 to the power 2, and here Kp1 is 6.8. So 6.8 is equal to 1.7 divided by PNO2 square. So PNO2 here becomes 1.7 divided by 6.8, this is 1/4, and if I do the under root it becomes half or 0.5. It means the pressure because of NO2 is 0.5 atm. And what is the pressure because of NO2? Pressure because of NO2 is 2P minus X, Y minus 2Y. 2P minus X minus 2Y is equal to 0.5 atm. Y is equal to 1.7 atm. And the total pressure is 5.5 atm. And the total pressure is 5.5. Now the total pressure is because of NO, because of NO2 plus N2O3 plus N2O4. So the total pressure is because of these 4 gases at equilibrium. Now the pressure because of NO2 is simply 0.5, whereas the pressure because of N2O4 is 1.7 plus the pressure because of NO. Now here you can see that the pressure because of NO is P minus X, whereas the pressure because of N2O3 is X. So this value is P minus X, this is X, and this is equals to 5.5. Now this X and this X has been cancelled out. So we have P plus the addition is 2.2 is equals to 5.5, or P is equals to 3.3. So we have calculated Y, we have calculated P, and we have pressure of NO also. Now we can calculate the value of X from this. We have 2P minus X minus 2Y is equal to what? It is equal to 0.5. Now P is 3.3, so this becomes 6.6 minus X. This is 1.7, so 1.7 into 2 is 3.4 is equals to 0.5. So X is equals to 6.6 minus 3.4 minus 0.5. And this comes out to be, so this is 3.2 minus 0.5 is equals to 2.7 atm. So we have calculated X, Y, P, every unknown value. Now the question is asking what is the value of Kp2. Now Kp2 is what? Kp2 is for this reaction. So our Kp2 is pressure because of N2O3 divided by pressure because of NO dot pressure because of NO2, and this is basically pressure because of N2O3, that is the value of X 2.7 divided by pressure of NO, nothing but P minus X, and pressure because of NO2 is 0.5. Now if I substitute the values, we have 2.7 divided by the value of P, we have been solved here, P is 3.3 minus what is X? X is 2.7, so this is 3.3 minus 2.7 into 0.5, that is 2.7 divided by this is 0.6 into 0.5, so this is 9, that is 9 by 2. So 9 by 2 is 4.5 divided by 0.5 is equal to 9. So from here we have calculated the value. So the answer of this question, or the value of Kp2, is 9. Now moving on to my next question. So let's see this question. How many stereoisomers of the complex KCOEN FeN ClBr are there? Now this is from coordination compounds. Now here this En, first you have to know the ligands here, and the ligands are, this is the famous ligand, that is En, that is ethylene diamine. We know that it is a bidentate ligand, that is NH2 CH2 CH2 NH2. So it is a bidentate ligand in which the two donor sites are same. So let's say I will represent it like A. And similarly this is my second bidentate ligand, that is phenanthroline. Now in phenanthroline, again the two donor sites are these two nitrogen atoms. So here also the donor sites are same. You can see the symmetry here, and the donor sites are also same. So I'll represent it by BB. Now let's draw the stereoisomers of this compound. So the central atom we have is cobalt here. Now in cobalt we are having two bidentate ligand, and we are having chlorine and bromine. Now first I'll draw chlorine and bromine trans to each other. So if Cl and Br are trans, and let's say this is our first bidentate ligand, that is ethylene diamine, and this is our second bidentate ligand, that is phenanthroline. Now you can see from here that the geometry here is octahedral, and you can see that there is a plane of symmetry. For example, if this is an equatorial plane, then if I put a plane like this, that it includes my Cl, Br, and it divides these two bidentate ligands in equal half, then we get a plane of symmetry. And as it has a plane of symmetry, I can say one thing, that my compound is optically inactive. That the compound is optically inactive, and if it is optically inactive, I can say one thing, that we will get only a single stereoisomer from here. Now let's put the Cl and Br cis to each other. Now if I put Cl and Br in cis form, now just put your bidentate ligands, that is AA and BB. Now here we can see one thing, that in this case my Br is anti to A and my B is anti to Cl. Okay. Also you can see that here there is no plane of symmetry. In cis form we do not find any plane or center of symmetry. Those are missing here, and if these are missing, my compound becomes optically active. And if it is optically active, we get this compound and its mirror image. So from here we will get two stereoisomers. Similarly, as I have told you, that here while writing Cl and Br cis to each other, what we have done is we have put A trans to Br and B trans to Cl. But now we will reverse the condition. Now B will be trans to my Br and A will be trans to my Cl. Now we do not have any other way of arranging these atoms, and you can see from here that this is also optically active. So this is also optically active, as here also there is no plane or center of symmetry, and that's why from here also we will get two stereoisomers, this one and its mirror image. So in total we can see we have 1 plus 2 plus 2, that is 5 stereoisomers. So the answer of this question is 5. Now moving on to my next question, a certain amount of an ideal gas in a vessel of volume 16.42 liter at 400 Kelvin and 6 atm pressure is subjected to isothermal expansion. So here we have been given certain condition, we have been given pressure, we have been given volume and temperature. So from here we can calculate the moles of my gas, and after that it is saying that it is subjected to isothermal expansion. Now this results in an increase of entropy of 40.2 joule per Kelvin. So here delta S has been given to us for this process, and that is 40.2 joule per Kelvin. Now how many times the volume of the gas has increased? Now we have to see that what is the relationship between V2 and V1. Now V2 is what times V1. So let's start doing the question. But first thing that we have to do here is to calculate the moles of my ideal gas. Now for calculating moles we will apply our ideal gas equation, that is PV is equal to nRT. You all know this formula very well. So N here is the pressure, that is 6 atm, into volume, that is 16.42, divided by R, and as pressure is in atm, volume is in liters, so the value of R that I have to put here is 0.082. So 0.082 into the temperature is 400 Kelvin. So this gives me my number of moles, and that is 3. Now after calculating moles, what we have to do is we have to apply the formula for change in entropy of system. Now what is change in entropy? Delta S system is basically given by NCV ln T2 by T1 plus NR ln V2 by V1. Now as I have told you that the process is isothermal expansion. Isothermal means that delta T here is 0. And if delta T is 0, it means my T1 is equal to T2. So this term becomes equal to 0. So I am left with only one quantity, that is NR ln V2 by V1. Now if I substitute the values here, the number of moles is 3. If I put the SI unit of R, then it is 8.314 joule per Kelvin per mole. The delta S system has been given to us, and that is 40.2 joule per Kelvin. If we change ln into log 10, it becomes 2.303 log V2 by V1. Now moving the values on the other side, we will get log V2 by V1 is basically 40.2 divided by 3 into 8.314 into 2.303, and that comes out to be 0.7. So log V2 by V1 is equal to 0.7, and here a very big hint has been given to you that the value of log 5 is equal to 0.7. So you have to do nothing. You have to pick the value from here. So from here I can say my V2 by V1 is simply equal to 5. So it means the volume has been increased by a factor of 5. So the answer here is 5 times. Now moving on to the next question.